Well, welcome to Riding Shotgun. It is Tuesday, May the 1st, and the weather's nice, and my farmer's out here. He planted corn Friday. He's out here. I think he's going to disc this bean field, or maybe he's just going to, oh, it looks like he's going to do some mowing, and disc also, apparently, and maybe he's going to plant beans later today or tomorrow. I can't tell. Now, when we go by here, as you'll see this, there's a Corvette parked here. It's not mine. And he always tells me farmers are the richest guys in the cemetery because all they do is accumulate the wealth of land. And this is not his either. This is somebody's who's helping him, one of his people. And I see he's also left his fuel tank down here from when he was out here planting corn the other day. Anyhow, it's really going to be nice today. I think we finally turned the corner on the weather. I know I've mowed, I think, 4 times already, and it's going to be in the 80s today. That's awesome. Still windy, but anyhow, we got some basketball recruiting to talk about. Bryce Golden is going to Butler. You know, I thought Syracuse was kind of the favorite. And then I heard maybe Syracuse or Illinois, and I just heard it wasn't going to probably be Georgetown, and then I heard it was going to be 50-50 on whether he took his visit to Butler. And you know, if you got a guy who's going to make all 4 of his visits, and you could dictate the terms, man, I would always like to be the last visit. You know, make the final impression. Then he goes home with his family, talks through it all. What does he really remember? The things that he just saw, and his final visit was over the weekend at Butler, and I'm not saying that was the only factor. I just would like to be the last one. Illinois, in this case, was the second visit. It went Syracuse, Illinois, Georgetown, Butler, and you know, good for him. I hope it works out great for him there. He seemed like a nice kid, and he was a good-looking ball player, 6'9" forward. And you know, the problem is you can't all say I'll be the last. You know, I think in Syracuse's case, they were hoping they could be the first and get him to commit, and he would cancel the other visits, and that's a strategy too. So it didn't work out. You move on. You know, the one that becomes so interesting now is Francis Okoro up at Normal West, 6'9", 6'10", good player, top 50 player. Illinois, Purdue, Oregon. He's visited all those places. Just took an official visit to Purdue over the weekend. But there's 2 things here. One, the reclassification issue. Will he reclassify from 2019 to 2018? I don't think anybody knows for sure yet. I don't know. Just because you want to doesn't mean it's possible. You're going to have to satisfy your high school graduation requirements in an abbreviated window, and then you're going to have to be admitted somewhere. Number 2, this is why Illinois basketball recruiting is difficult. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It was difficult at the end for Bruce Weber. It was difficult for John Gross. It's difficult for Brad Underwood, and it's difficult because look at who Illinois is recruiting against in this instance, and it's amplified because it's a big man. They're recruiting against Purdue, and they're recruiting against Oregon. Well, these kids are, let's just say they're 18 years old. Their memory goes back, what, 5-6 years, realistically, maybe a little longer. They haven't seen Illinois in a competitive, meaningful situation in a long time. They haven't seen Illinois in the top 25. They haven't seen Illinois in the NCAA tournament. We all know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm just telling you that when you're recruiting against a school like Oregon, who was in the Final Four, a couple years ago, when you're recruiting against a school like Purdue, who not only was high in the top 25 this last season, it has been nationally ranked in the past several seasons that recruits would have noticed and remember, but in the case of Francis Okoro, a big man, they can point to several examples where they ran a successful offense through their big man. A.J. Hammonds, Caleb Swanigan, who I think of more as a forward than a center, but was an undersized 5 at times for them. And then Isaac Haas, nothing undersized about him, and Matt Harms, nothing undersized about him. So Illinois is trying to sell this vision. The one advantage they have is that they're the in-state school, and they've built a good relationship with him. But they're selling this promise that we will get to the NCAA tournament, and you will be a reason why we get there. We will be more effective going through the post, although they can show them that even going through a 6'7" guy, LaRon, they could be fairly effective. But so these are things that they're fighting, and you know, it's an uphill battle always on all these recruits, which is what makes the current class of 2018 as it is assembled remarkable, in my view. To get Io to buy in, and then to get, you know, the player of the year out of New York and a 4-star out of California who was committed to Arizona, and to get a kid like Samba Kane out of Florida, which people were just starting to notice him, and I think is going to be maybe the most underrated guy in this class. To get a point guard like Andres Feliz, you know, and understand that when you're recruiting against Purdue in this instance, Matt Painter's going to pull this kid aside and say, dude, don't you want to go to the NCAA tournament? Why would you consider going to a school that doesn't go to the NCAA tournament? Do you want to be a big man who gets the ball all the time? Why would you not want to come to a place where we've been doing that for years? And those are hard questions to answer. And Brad's got answers. Everybody's got answers. But that makes it an uphill battle. The reclassifying thing is a mystery to me. I just go back to when I was in high school, and I don't think I could have snapped my fingers as a junior and said, you know what, I'll reclassify and I'll have everything done in time to graduate or to satisfy my requirements. God bless Francis Okoro. He may have been forward thinking enough to prepare himself for this. Everything might be legit. You know, it just seems like, wow, that would really be hard to do. I can see where an exceptional kid could maybe do it. Maybe he is an exceptional kid. I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I hear more and more people talk about reclassifying like it's no big deal. It would have been a big deal to me. Okay. Anyhow, we'll watch and see what happens there. I still think there's a 5th-year transfer out there somewhere that Brad has tucked in his hip pocket. I do. And if you can get him, because you got 2 scholarships. I know that they're still involved with Maurice Kalu, you know, but, and he's the Oak Hill high school kid. But, gee whiz, if you can get a 5th-year kid to come in and play on the front line with some experience, you get the scholarship back the next year, so it doesn't hurt you in that regard. You need experience on that front line. If he's okay, that's good. That's probably good enough. You're not under an obligation to play the heck out of the kid if somebody shows themselves to be, you know, front court ready right now. You can just avoid that. But anyhow, so football recruiting, you know, it's interesting to see a strategy unfold with Lovey. We obviously understand the strategy of targeting not a player, but a school, a high school, which they obviously did at Trinity Catholic in St. Louis. You know, they know there's a wealth of really good talent down there. They know St. Louis should be a strong area with Lovey's experience down there, and Illinois is recruited down there anyhow. Proximity, all that stuff works out. So what do? They recruit not only the players, but they recruit the head coach, and now he's on Lovey's staff, Corey Patterson. They recruit Isaiah Williams. They're recruiting a number of other players. They already were in there with players like Larry Boyd, and so they've done that in St. Louis. Now in Chicago, you can see them targeting Chicago Phillips High School with some really good players, and they've got one. They're working on 2 more. The real jewel would be Jahil Billingsley, the tight end, who's, you know, in on a lot of national schools are in on him, and but I kind of like that approach, and I don't see a problem in it. I think that's smart to me. You know, do a clinic up there, get aligned with them as closely as you can, wrap your arms around that coaching staff and give them a lot of love. Get 1, get 2, get 3, and maybe then you've got a little bit of a pipeline going. So we'll continue to monitor that as well. I don't know of too much else that's going on right now. You know, we're into the slower period, right? Spring football's over with. Basketball moving toward June when people will arrive. I understand 2 people might be a little bit late. Io, I think, is investigating his opportunities with USA Basketball. So that could make him a little late to arrive. And then Tevian Jones, I think his high school graduation is unusually late compared to the times around here. So he could be, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks later than the others, but they'll get everybody there and get going, and then I'll try to get over there too. Okay, one final thing. We know that that I've announced my retirement at the end of May, and I've also told a lot of you that I'm going to still try to stay involved somehow, some way. I wish I had all the details of that. I do not. I'm going to fight for some outlet for riding shotgun. You know, this has really become kind of an interesting thing. I don't think everybody understands it on the outside. I think those of you who watch it regularly understand it, and it's kind of I don't want to say it's got a cult following. Cult's not a very good word, maybe, but it's got an interesting following, and you know, it's probably not for everybody. I get that. I hear people say, I don't want to see your dog. I don't want to hear you talk about weather. I don't want to hear you talk about your dumb farm. Just talk basketball. Well, you know what? I get to do that in a lot of other outlets. So you'll have to forgive me. This is a little bit different. This is a little more one-on-one personal as best we can be. And so I try to share some of that. And some of you tell me that's really interesting to you. I got a letter from a fellow up in the Rockford area yesterday who has an ice cream plant and has horses and has a farm and understands what this is about, and so he kind of gets a kick out of it. So anyhow, I'm going to fight for that. For the time being, I intend to continue to do my 2 things a week on WAND television. Those are on the Monday 6 and 10 news and the Friday 6 and 10 news. I'm going to continue to do the radio work I do on WSOY. That's 7:30 every morning on Byers and Company, Monday through Friday, and that's 5 to 7 on Thursdays, Sport Talk with my friend Tim Kane. And then I continue to hope to write periodically for the Herald and Review. You know, I don't know how often that is, but we haven't gotten that ironed out yet. I think that's I'm hoping that's just a matter of sitting down and getting it done. People have been busy. I totally get that. You know, I'm not going to disappear. I don't think, and I hope you won't either. I want to stay in touch with them, with the programs. I want to stay in touch with you. I recently wrote a 4-part basketball series. If you haven't seen it, go to herald-review.com and look around for it. You'll find it. And it was really the byproduct of the kindness of Brad Underwood to give me almost an hour in his office. That was really sweet of him. I don't know if that was his parting gift, if that was his retirement present or what. Actually, he's just a pretty good guy, and he had a little bit of time, and he's such a good talker, you know. And I've told many of the young reporters, you know, I said, man, I hope you understand what you got in this guy. You know, these people are not a dime a dozen that like to talk about the sport, like to talk about their players, like to talk about game situations, like to talk about strategy. You know, so many coaches don't want to talk about specifics. They don't want to talk about, you know, they don't give you anecdotes on their players or tell you how they think they can develop or how they can specifically improve them. And so it's a welcome thing, and really the beneficiaries are the fans who get more information about a team that they're so passionate about. So, well, now oh, my farmer is back. Okay, so now the Corvette's disappeared. Hope there wasn't a Corvette theft during that brief little ride. Anyhow, thanks everybody. We'll stay in touch next Tuesday, riding shotgun again, and we'll talk to you a little bit later. Thanks, bye.